Nkosi Talk Shows family, is Nomsa here at Nkosi Talk Shows. Find your own voice, lead from within. With me today, I have Kamau Aima. How are you, Kamau?
Very well, thank you, Nomsa. How are you? And hello, good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, wherever you may be in the world watching us.
I'm very well, thank you.
Good.
So our topic today is unveiling the unspoken truth of marriage. 5 secrets they won't tell you. The secret number 1, that is for me, that I entered into a marriage and I thought everything was going to be beautiful. I thought everything was going to be amazing, but my life was turned upside down. It became a disaster because there are some things that I didn't know. So those are the things, the principles that we're going to cover, the principles of marriage. We're going to cover the boundaries. And we are going to cover the acceptance of marriage. We are also going to cover to never take each other for granted when it comes to marriage. And we are going to cover the number 1 rule of marriage is taking responsibilities. You can do date nights, you can do all this, but if you are not taking responsibilities in a relationship, it's not going to work. So over to you, Kamau. I'm sure you're very excited for this topic because I know you used to be a divorce coach. Now you've changed your mind.
Yes, I changed my mind because it's something completely different that I realized. And again, I thought that going through the experience myself, I would know what worked for me, but not necessarily for others. But then I realized that there was a deeper purpose for me behind why I wanted to coach divorcees, and it was a healing process for me, which led me to what I'm doing now as a life purpose coach, because I take the much bigger picture into consideration, and that I find much more rewarding. So that's the start of it. That's how it all started. But I like the points that you mentioned. I have obviously a few points on my own, and I think one of the, when you get into a relationship, you want compatibility, likes and dislikes. You try to make sure of these things are in order. Obviously, there's a lot to do with culture, your cultural background. There is also to do with how cultured the person is in terms of international culture, in terms of what they how their brain works, in a sense. And to me, when I entered the marriage, I didn't realize that, well, I did realize it from a personal perspective. However, I didn't see it in the grand scheme of a marriage, that marriage is a platform for personal growth. And so we've spoken about this several times. And if one person grows beyond the capabilities, beyond the capacities of their partner, then the gap grows even more. And sometimes partners refuse that growth for their partner, and that's when you know this is not what it's meant to be. But let me come back to the first point that I wanted to discuss, and that is choosing a spouse that can be your best friend. Now, it's not easy to get there, right? And probably some have thought of it. Can they actually be your best friend? And they can be a pal. You can have fun with your partner. There's plenty of research out there in psychology and in marriage counseling that shows couples who view their spouses as their best friend have a higher level of satisfaction, a higher level of commitment, of love, and of sexual gratification in their relationships. So what's interesting about that is that over the past 2 decades, I believe, there's been a growing trend of people seeing their spouses as best friends. And it is a good thing for their relationships. I mean, you can see it all over the place on Instagram and on Facebook, and couples that are starting to post things together where they are playful with each other, where they tease each other, where they where they banter each other live. And that makes a significant difference in that relationship. It bonds you closer. It brings you to a state where, wait, we don't just have to do the routine, boring stuff of a couple. A couple is supposed to know how to have fun when it's possible to have fun. Now, obviously, there are other things related to that. It's not only fun, but there's also the part where your best friend usually is your confidant, and knowing how to sit back and just listen to what they have to say, not trying to solve the problem, but just listening. Sometimes a partner just wants to say something about their day. And so if you're a best friend coming back home from work, you'll be, in a sense, excited to tell your partner how your day went. And the continuation of these routines, I'm going to call them, or these habits, to take 5, 10, 15 minutes to talk about your day. Who did you speak to? What happened? Anything bothered you? Anybody was there for you? Somebody wasn't there for you? That helps the relationship grow, in a sense, from a best friend perspective. So, I mean, this was the first point that I wanted to discuss, because having that sense of best friend, not having that, and I'm going to put it between quotations, a nagging partner to come home to. Oh, you didn't do this, you have to fix that. Oh, why didn't you do that? Oh, this is dirty. Oh, this is that. Why did you throw this? Why did you keep that? That's not what you're looking for. You're looking to make a life together. And so my personal opinion, having a person that you can relate to, a person that you can connect with on a friendship level, that's when you can really expand your relationship, your partnership. Yeah, so that was it for me, Nomsa, on this subject, as a starter, at least.
I love that, Kamal, when you said marriage is a platform of growth, and also you mentioned that when you're in a relationship, you have to listen to your spouse. And you also mentioned sometimes you have to look at the difference between values and culture. All those things, they matter. And you also mentioned that sometimes when a spouse goes to work, they come home, they don't want a nagging spouse. And I think that is very, very, very important. For me, I come to a place where principles are very, very important when it comes to marriage, when it comes to relationship. When you meet somebody, obviously you're not going to date somebody that your values and your beliefs don't go together. Those are the first thing that you're gonna have to put together. But sometimes some people think that if I have found the right partner, we have the same values, we have the same beliefs, and we are compatible, and everything, he gets me when I speak, he knows what I'm gonna say. They think that is gonna carry the relationship. But the truth is, if a man does not know how to take responsibilities, or a woman does not know how to take responsibilities for the marriage, the relationship is not going to work. There are simple things that people take for granted, such as, like, let's say what Kamal was saying. Somebody takes their socks off, they put them on the floor, and then the other person, they nag, why is he doing this? And then you go to the toilet seat is put on, and then somebody they nag with each other. But for me, for me, to be honest with you, I have better things to do than to nag somebody because of socks. That's what I will tell you. Honestly, I have better things, because it takes actually 2 seconds to actually put the clothes. Like when I get ready in the morning, I'm in the bedroom, I'm getting ready, everything goes on the floor. So if there's already socks on the floor, I just put everything and put it in the washing machine. And I know that if my spouse is leaving socks on the floor, that means I'm leaving something as well. That means that there is something about me. He gets annoyed, but he doesn't tell me, because it's little things. He just takes it off. Like my daughter yesterday, she goes, no one has ever finished a sentence in this house when I'm talking to people and people just ignore me and I don't like it. And I was like, oh, okay. So we were like, okay, sorry. So those are the things. There are small things when it comes to relationship. Like, let's say, Kamal, you've got children. Let's say you enter a relationship. Or maybe, let's say your spouse hasn't got kids, or they have kids, and then you become one. Now the kids need to go to school, to be dropped to school. Kamal works from home. Let's say Kamal works from home. And then the wife, because Kamal has got it in his idea that, the wife has to take care of the children. And then the wife goes, Kamal, could you please drop the kids to school? And Kamal goes, I'm busy. It's your job to drop the kids to school. So she does it, but then he doesn't help out. The little things, even though they have car or they have all these things, you can help a little bit, maybe once a week.
Just for the audience, this is not happening. I'm not in a relationship, and even if I were, I do help. Like, this is hypothetical. She's using me as an example, which is not true.
It is true, guys. He might be doing it. If he was married, he would be doing it as well. So that's what they do. Men and women, we all do it.
Everyone does it.
Yeah, we don't take responsibilities. Yeah. We don't take responsibilities. We feel that is Kamal's responsibility, or that is a man's responsibility. I'm going to use the man, not his name anyway. That is a man's responsibility. They need to take. But then the truth is, I was watching this YouTube, this man, he was talking about his wife when they got married. And he goes, the wife, okay, he was working from home, and then he refused to take the kids from school. And then the wife was like, okay, I'm going to do it. And the wife, at first she didn't like it. The second time she didn't like it. And then the third time the wife comes home, is happy. She goes, oh, actually, our next door neighbor, we go to the same school. So he has decided we use his car to drop us to school, and it's so nice, it's so lovely. And then he goes, the following day, the woman comes home, she is so smiling, she is so happy. And then the third day, she comes home and she goes, oh, our neighbor, he drops us. He's very kind, honey. You should meet him. He's really, really nice. And the man goes, I've had enough. I need to take my own responsibilities, and I'm going to drop my family to school and children to school. So he says he didn't do it through jealousy. So he's saying the moment the woman started changing the attitude, so he realized actually there was something that he did wrong from the beginning, that he works from home, he can create his own hours, but he was actually refusing just to drop one day his child to school. And he goes, I don't even know why she was asking me to drop the child to school, because she can drive it as well. So, and then he says at the time he didn't see it as a responsibility. So he was saying how when the man started getting closer to his wife, and he was like, oh, you know what? I need to be a man and take responsibility.
This is very interesting, because it brings us to quite an important part of relationships, of marriages, which are rarely discussed in the very beginning of a relationship, because, you know, it's the honeymoon phase for the first year, 2 years, you're still there. And then the idea of kids maybe starts to come into the picture, especially if you have never had kids before. And then they just play it along, right? However, who's going to do what? But these are, in my opinion, these are important factors. These are important decisions that one has to make at the very start of a relationship in order to qualify. And I'm saying it this way, yes, to qualify the partner that you are going to be with. I'm going to take responsibility of dropping off the kids. Now, if something changes in my work situation, are you willing to do that? Yes, no. How are we going to do it? Marriage is a contract of agreements. It is a set of agreements that you should actually, between quotations, sign in the beginning. Not, oh, you know what, let's open this business together and then we'll figure out how we're going to share the money and all of that. And then everybody gets screwed. So, yeah, there was another word in my head that was coming out, but I had to think a little bit. So marriage is about understanding. It's about deciding. And whoever tells you marriage is 50-50, hell no, that person is a liar. There's nothing called 50-50 in a relationship. It doesn't work like that. Sometimes somebody will do 90, the other will do 10. Sometimes it will be the opposite. Sometimes it will be 50-50. Sometimes it's going to be 60 and 70 and 25. This changes over time. It depends on who is doing what and where and what. You cannot have 50-50. I am going to wash half of the house. You will wash the other half. Hell no. It doesn't work that way. It doesn't work that way. How it works is that we come to an agreement together. How are we going to do things? How are we going to raise the kids? Are we going to raise them religiously, spiritually? Are we going to take them to Montessori school, or are we going to give them public schooling or homeschooling? How are we going to educate them about personal growth? What are we going to do for our personal growth? What are the steps that we're going to take together in order to make sure that we stay friends? How are we going to talk to each other? What are we not allowed to say? What can we discuss? What can't we discuss? All of these things have to be spoken about, have to be put on the table. And that's how you get a solid marriage. You don't just get into a relationship and then figure it out later on. You can figure it out. I'm not saying just, okay, first date, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, these are my rules. No, you don't do it that way. You get to know a person, you get to involve with them, take it a few steps at a time, and then slowly, you discuss these important matters along the way that you are with each other, so that you can come to an agreement. And if midway you realize, help, you know what, this is not working for me because I want this and you want that. Is there a way to compromise? No, there's no way to compromise. Okay, then it's best that we leave it at this stage and you go your way, I go my way, so that we don't waste each other's time. And I think this is an important thing to realize, because once you're in a marriage, this is what brings me to my previous point that I was discussing about a platform for personal growth. If you come to that stage in a marriage, right, you won't have space to evolve. Relationships are meant to evolve in a way that we both complement and promote each other's personal growth. We help each other fulfill their own goals if we can. I'm a life purpose coach, and I'm a karate instructor, and I'm an English teacher. Now, the partner that comes into my life has to accept that I have these things. And so let's say I want to study even more. My partner needs to be available for me and say, you know what, I am going to support you in your studies. What do you want to study? Maybe maybe she's better than me in researching, so that she can help me do the correct path that I want. I want to do a PhD, I don't know, in teaching, in psychology, whatever it may be. Then partner will support you during that time. And the opposite is true. The partner comes and she says, you know what, I'm fed up of this job that I'm doing, and I need to figure out how I'm going to move forward. Let's look at it. What do you enjoy doing? And then we'll look at purpose. We look at the grand picture of life for her, so that I can provide her with whatever needs she wants from me. Not give her the answers, not tell her what to do, because a lot of men do that. Just be there for her so that I can help her out. In my case, I have a whole program that helps you pursue your life purpose. So I'm going to help her out. But in other people's life, maybe it's a good way to introduce her to a life coach, to a psychologist, to somebody that is educated enough. But all depends on your partner's request from you. And so as we grow together, we release our relationship from the burden of ignorance. And that is what I believe about that section here when it comes to personal growth and growing in a marriage.
I agree with you, Kamal. You know, when you enter a relationship, a man's role, he's a cultivator. That means he has to have a vision, and a woman comes in to actually mentor her man. They both, she has a vision, but it makes sure that the vision is linking to the man's vision. That's why they agree anyway in the first place to date, because you both have to just look at your vision and realize actually you're both on the same page when it comes to life, and when it comes to the future, you're looking for the same thing. So, and then once you do that, you mentor somebody, you don't control somebody. The reason why marriages don't work nowadays is because when somebody enters a relationship, they're not complete. And then they expect somebody else to complete them. And then they enter a relationship, they expect to control the other person. Can you imagine if Kamal wants to have a PhD, and then she's dating this person that, no, honey, you don't need to do this, you don't need to do that. He will end up being frustrated, not being happy in that relationship, and that will cause a big conflict in between them and the person that is dating. But if he finds somebody that is supportive, somebody that mentors him, that wants him to do, that brings the best in him, out in him, because there's always more than we are capable of when it comes to life. So you want to date somebody that takes responsibilities, that wants to see you happy, that wants to see you become the person that you are created to become. And I think that relationship works. And knowing that you cannot enter a relationship expecting a husband. Some people, they're like, I'm lonely. If you are lonely, you are not in a relationship, and you are lonely, you don't need, a relationship will not complete. Because when you enter a relationship, because you are lonely, because you are looking for somebody to complete you, then that means that relationship is going to work. You have to be complete and looking for a best friend, looking for a partnership, looking for somebody to actually spend days with you, days of your life with you. But knowing that there's going to be a war in that days of our lives, there's not going to be romance, there's not going to be love at first sight. You know how to deal with the war in the relationship. So, and then the relationship will work. But nowadays, our younger generation, they think marriage is something that is wrapped up as a present, is already mad, and you hand it over to them. Relationship requires you to work, and it requires you to accept the other person. When you accept the other person, that means I accept you with your mistakes. I accept you with your failures. I accept you with your this. And I'm ready to actually motivate you to become the person that you want to become. Obviously, we're not going to date lazy people that have no goals, that have no future. They don't see themselves doing anything in the future. You're not going to date that women or men. You're not going to date a woman like that. So if there is a woman out there who is watching the talk show and you feel that I don't have any dreams about my future, you have to start getting skills, get into personal development, and learn more about yourself, and create the skills in a relationship, and also creating boundaries. We have to create boundaries in relationship. Over to you, Kama. What do you think?
You got the next subject. You got the next perfect subject, the boundaries. What is mine? What am I going to do? What are you going to do? Boundaries, boundaries, boundaries. This, I don't want you to interfere in this part of my life. I don't want you to interfere with my my relationship with my family. There is an important factor here to remember, and it is how and what you want to discuss. We spoke about it earlier, and I said, what are we going to talk about? What are we not going to talk about? What is a no discussion subject for us, and what can we? Boundaries are also related to many other things. They're related in how you perceive yourself. Not everybody is willing to let go of certain limiting beliefs, and as a partner, you are there to support your partner. However, it is not your job to help them remove these limiting beliefs. It's up to them. These are certain boundaries that we should not cross unless we are given the right to do so. So be careful with your boundaries. Know your limitations. Know your own limitations first. That's the most important thing. Once you understand your own limitations, you are capable of saying, you know what, I don't want to put my foot there. I don't want to get out of this comfort zone, for instance. And that's fine. We all have our comfort zones. And it's pretty normal. It's a safety zone, right? And we call it the psychological safety zone. And there's no harm in staying there. However, there is less growth if you stay there as well. Boundaries are also set up to make sure that we do not step on each other's toes. We do not speak ill of each other in a certain way. There are lots of, as we set boundaries for ourselves, so do we set boundaries for others in our lives. And a relationship is no different. A personal or intimate relationship as marriage is no different. You are there for each other, I agree. However, there's always this small space of yourself that perhaps you don't want to share, and that is absolutely normal. I mean, I have nothing to hide in any relationship that I get into from now, but I also know that, you know what, there's this space of mine, I don't want interference in it. And I will say, frankly, for instance, unless my partner is an expert karate sensei, as I am, I will say, do not interfere here. I'm a life purpose coach. Do not interfere with my work unless I ask you. Unless I ask you for ideas. That's something very different. It is for me to decide when I will let you into these small circles of lives that I have. Because it's not only that life that we have together that we're sharing. There are multiple other circles, if I can put it this way, and multiple other lives that we live internally. There is our friends' lives. There is our intimate friends' life. There is our family life. There is our business life. All of these are, we separate them. However, they're all related. And so if If I decide you can interfere here, or you can give your opinion here, or you can come into this circle, that is fine. But you have to also make sure that you are the one that decides, enter this circle or do not enter this circle. We talk about this or we don't talk about this. One of the mistakes that I previously did was not setting my boundaries with my ex-wife. I let her deal with things because I didn't want to have a headache. I don't like headaches. I like things to be simple. She was good with economy. She was good with paying bills. She was good with making documentation. I said, you know what, do all of that. I don't care, because they're not important things to me. However, it led to me being stepped over on. It led to me having to walk on eggshells in a relationship. And you don't want that. It was my mistake because I didn't set my boundaries. I let her do whatever she wanted to do the way that she felt it better and more fit to do. I did not interfere. However, I was already setting the boundaries for her how to deal with me. And so I lost all control over my boundaries. Now, these are things that taught me what I can do in the future. Now, these things might work for you, they might not work for you. I mean, we're talking about things that we think are important, but we're talking about them because we believe these things are important to us. Some of them worked for us. This is what we have done for us in our relationships. It doesn't necessarily mean that it will work for you. And this is also important to mention, that we are not preaching. We are simply telling you, sharing with you our personal experiences and how we dealt with them. And so boundaries for me was one of the second most important things. The first one was personal growth. I don't know if I've said it live, but in a relationship of 7 years, I had not opened a single book. And I'm a nerd. I used to eat books before that. I used to read at least 10 to 15 books per year. And so in a relationship of 7 years that I don't open one book, this is a dramatic situation. And that is due to boundaries. Past 4 years, I think I made up for it. Because I read over, I don't know, I can't even count anymore. But this is what I'm talking about. Growth, personal growth in a relationship. You need to learn how to grow together. If you are denied that personal growth, get out of there. Run, Forrest, run. If you cannot set your boundaries or your boundaries are being stepped over, get out of there. And I know it's not easy when you have children or when you're deep in a relationship, but we're telling you what we did wrong so that perhaps maybe you have a hint of what can work later on. But yeah, so these are the boundaries that I was talking about and how to set them up and how they affect you. Now, I know you have a few more points, Numsa. But what are we talking about next? What do you have? You're muted, Numsa. Please, I beg of you. You're muted.
My daughter is gone now. I don't need to mute myself. Have patience. Hi, Dave. How are you doing? And thank you for supporting us. Always pop in. You always pop in to say hello. We appreciate you and God bless you. Having patience in a relationship is very, very important. And I'm going to comment what you've just said about boundaries as well. Is very, they're different, two different things, boundaries and rules, guys. There are some people that set rules in a relationship. They're like, they tell their spouse, don't do this, or it actually destroys a relationship. With the difference between principles and boundaries, boundaries, they protect a relationship, but when you put rules in a relationship, it's more like a control freak. when somebody is in a relationship with you, they need to, like, when they're at work, they need to want to come home. They need to think of home as a place where they have peace. They need to think a home as a place where they can run into. For me, when my spouse enters the house coming from work, I ain't got time to nag him about what happens in the day, or he didn't put the socks, or he didn't do this, he didn't do this. I don't do that. I know home is where he just wants to come and relax. And I know home is where he wants to come in and to spend time with his children and spend time with his family. So you set boundaries. And when you set boundaries, like for me with my spouse, when it comes to my in-laws, I know my in-laws, they are my enemies. I studied psychology. So I know my boundaries. When it comes to my in-laws, I know how far I can go, how far I cannot go. I see them as my loving enemies because they can turn against me just like that. So all I got to do is I got to let him deal with his family. And I deal with his family in a loving and kind way when I have been asked to do so. But if I have not been asked, I don't interfere. It's like I've lived with my father-in-law. My father-in-law, he was sick. He got sick, and I knew that as a child, I needed to take responsibilities. But everything that I did in that moment, my father-in-law, he used to go to the bank and just put money in. And so I was like, we need to set up the bank. We set up all the bank details and stuff, online banking. But then I took his details and I say, here's your daddy's details. He doesn't want to. So I was like, I'm going to keep them. And making sure that the man had lots of money. So making sure that the money is safe. So I keep his details. When now he gets sick, his family are getting stuck. Money, finances to access money. I'm like, don't worry. You can access the money through me. I've set it all up for him, because those are the things that I knew that he needed help. And also with sorting out things and doing some research and confronting people. People don't want to confront no one. They would rather face the problems. So this is where I come in. I confront, I write letters, and sometimes Martin's brother goes, what the heck is this? Nomsa is like, oh my goodness. So, yeah, honestly. And when his daddy became sick, really sick, and they wanted him to get care and stuff for everybody, they kept being rejected. So I was like, let me write a letter then. So I write a letter, and his brother goes, I'm confused, but all this that is written is more like him, but I'm confused. I was like, if you need help, that's how you need to write a letter. So now whenever they've got problems, I have to wait. I have to see them struggle first, because I know my boundaries. Once they struggle and then they get stuck, that's when I step in and then I sort things out. But before that, I have to know my boundaries, what I can do, what I can't do. I have to let them try first. And then when they try, that's when I step in. If I see them that they are being taken for granted, I step in. And then that's when I use my NOMSA's tweaky thing, and then I talk to people. But other than that, I know my boundaries as a spouse. And I think that's how we should be when it comes to relationship. No controlling. Just let people be. And then when you let people be, and then the relationship is going to be fine. And also knowing that you are two different people. I don't expect my spouse to be like me. I was asking them the other day, I said, are you guys coming to watch the choir? And they were like, no, I don't think so. We don't like, you like a choir, but we'll come and watch you, but not today. I was upset. And I just went and sang because they don't want to come that day. So, but I'm okay with it because they're being honest. So for me come out to say, Oh, yeah, you guys got to come. I feel like I'm not being supported. I'm not in that level. So I'm in a level where I'm okay being on my own. I'm in a level where when my family are not there, I'm just happy having that time out from them, and then having time and be happy having time with family as well, because marriage is a beautiful thing. But also you have to feel beautiful when you're on your own. And you also have to feel beautiful when you are presented with the problems. I find myself as like I'm a Christian. The more I pray, the more I get war in my life. Honestly, the more I have to deal with war when it comes to relationship, when it comes to so many things. Like today, I was actually having a girl with ancestors. I was telling them that I am sick and tired of them creating problems for me. Because every time I pray, I feel like it's something has to challenge me. And when it comes to relationship, you have people that say they are Christian, and then you enter a relationship. Even if you're a non-Christian, you enter a relationship, a marriage, then it becomes war. But the relationship is not about war. We don't ask for it, but that's what happens. You have to know how to respond. And also you have to, there's some people enter a relationship hoping to change their spouse. You cannot change somebody. You can actually, and when you enter a relationship, you have to be somebody. I wrote something that I thought about. You have to know that your spouse hasn't got wisdom to protect you. Some people, a man is a protector. That's what the Bible says. When you date a man, they protect you. But not fully that protection where people, they take it to the next level, that you know what, that right now you've let me down. Man does not have a wisdom. He's not a God. So eventually he's going to let you down. Like women will let you down. So women will be like, you know what, right now you've let me down and I'm not happy. And also what men needs to know as well, when you meet a woman, don't tell them things that you can never do. Don't make promises you can't keep. If you tell a woman you're going to marry her in 6 months' time, you got to do it in 6 months' time. If you tell a woman you're going to marry her in a year's time, you got to do it in a year's time, because she's going to bring a war to you. She will never forget. You meet a woman today, is the 29th of June, 2023. You tell her something, ask her in 2028, 2028, she will remind you. She will tell you everything. She doesn't write it down, but because we are intelligent. So that's why I'm saying is, as a man, if you meet a woman, don't make promises and say, I'm going to marry you in 6 months. No. Tell a woman that, yes, I'm willing to get to know the right person. And when the times come, when we both feel is the right time for us to get married, I'm ready. I'll be ready to do that, but with the right person. And when you get all excited, don't say, you know what, in 6 months' time, I think we're going to do this. We're going to do this. You don't do it in 6 months' time, a woman is going to bring a war on you. And that's when you're going to start saying, women, you don't understand. This woman does not get me. She gets you, but she's walking towards the promises you've made towards her. So the best plan with men, meet a woman. A woman is very, very intelligent. They have power. Women, we have power. We are intelligent more than we realize. And that's why when you tell us things, we like Google, like we'll remind you everything that you've said 20 years ago. So that's what I'm saying. If you want your relationship to work, just meet a woman. And just don't make promises. Just if you know what you want, you know your vision, just tell her the vision. I'm working towards this, honey. But if you are the right woman for me, why not? One day we'll get married. One day we'll have children. And one day we'll live happily ever after with that war. So you have to be a woman. If you're a Christian, be a woman who is prayerful, who understands that marriage, there's somebody else is going to challenge that relationship, because Lucifer hates marriage. So those who don't know, Lucifer's thing is to have sex. He loves sex. So he hates people who get married because of Jezebel's spirit. And Lucifer hates musicians. He is the person that loves music. So if you are into the worship team and you are a musician, you got to have a prayer life. You got to be strong, because otherwise it put you into depression. There's only one man that can sing. To him is him. There's only one man that can actually have sex with whoever he wants, so which is him. So if you enter a marriage, he's going to challenge that marriage. So you have to be somebody that prepares to fight the war. And that's what relationship is about. Kamal, do we have anything else? I've got loads.
Oh, I mean, there is plenty of stuff, and we could talk about more. Now, we spoke about friendship in a relationship. We spoke about personal growth in a relationship. We spoke about boundaries in a relationship.
Principles.
Sorry?
We've spoke about principles.
We've spoken about principles and culture and all these discussions. Now, a last thing that I believe is quite important to this whole relationship, marriage thingy, is having compassion. And this is something that we forget even for ourselves. As humans, we're very harsh on ourselves. And having compassion for one another in a relationship is quite important. Compassion for whatever situation they're going through, whatever stage of their life they're in, however they want to move forward with it. But having compassion for yourself, firstly, so that you can just relax, take it easy. You know, I mean, we're saying stuff that maybe it's good, maybe it's not for you, maybe it works, maybe it doesn't. These are things that worked for us. These are things that we find important. These are things that I've taken note and have accepted as a set of rules, if I can say so, that I would use in my next relationship. And so be patient and compassionate and have empathy and all of that for yourself first. As we spoke about friendship and growth and boundaries in a relationship, have those for yourself as well. Believe that these things will work for you and change your perception on how you view yourself. Be kind to yourself. We constantly forget to be kind to ourselves. So it's yeah, that's what I wanted to add, because I know we're almost closing in on the end now. To me, compassion, understanding, and acceptance of who you are at that stage. And also remember that you cannot know what you don't know. So if at this stage, this is the best you can offer, trust me, this is the best that you can offer. Tomorrow is a different thing. So when tomorrow comes, see what happens, see what you want to do tomorrow. Look at tomorrow as a way to improve what yesterday was. Yeah, that's how I see the final words, and combine everything that we spoke about, put everything together. Understand that, make sure that, look up information. I mean, there's so much information available, and of course, we haven't spoken of one of the important things. I mean, Nomsa mentioned it, but like intimacy in the bedroom is quite important. Whether you want to have it in the bedroom, in the kitchen, on the kitchen, wherever you want to do it, I don't care.
With the light on, not the light switched off.
variety is good. Do whatever pleases you.
Yeah.
But this is also an important factor. Understand each other's love languages, and hell, there are tests everywhere. I mean, there's even a BDSM test to know the level of kinkiness that you have, so that you can understand what kind of kinks your partner wants to have, shares. Maybe you have certain kinks together. Maybe you have different kinks. But these are important things, because this is also part of the satisfaction of the relationship. It's not everything. It's a small part, but it's an important part. Trust me, if you have sex with somebody and you are disgusted, you don't like it, you don't enjoy it, it's not going to work. You can't push it. This is something that if it's not working, it's not working. If you have if you're icky about something in that, then it's not working. You have to have a sexual compatibility. Not only is it, unless of course you don't have sex, you're asexual or whatever, that's something completely different, right? And last but not least, and because this is technically the most important thing, and I know it sounds like a cliche, but it is communication. Know how to speak to each other. Know when to speak to each other. Know what kind of information you're going to be sharing with each other. You have to be clear. You have to be open. You have to be honest in your communication. This is the backbone of a successful marriage. You're upset? Say you're upset. Don't go, no, I'm not upset. And then we see your grumpy face. Or don't answer the silent treatment. Be honest. Say you're upset. Say, I am mad at you. I still love you, but I'm mad at you. Say it, express it. Don't hold these grudges inside of you. They will tear you apart. Relationships are not all fields of tulips and roses, and it's not all thorns and spikes everywhere, right? You need to learn how to unpack this relationship in an eloquent method, so that you can discuss and communicate clearly, and so that you can really open up to each other and celebrate those victories. So what, your partner left the seat up once or twice. Has he put it down several times before that? Yes. Okay, so he forgot. Oh, your partner left the socks on the table. Well, he has a good reason for leaving it on the table. It's easier to access. It's easier to get it from the table than to get it from the about these things. They happen. You're not perfect. Nobody's looking for the perfect partner. And nobody's looking to fix you as a partner.
No.
Fix yourself, communicate clearly, and do what works for you. These are only the things that happen to us that we want to share. So yeah, Namsa, last words.
I was watching this video online. This guy is a pastor, he's married to his wife, and apparently says the day he was so broke, didn't have the money, and then it happens that he put money somewhere and he forgot about it. There was loads of money. So he says, give the money to his wife, and his wife takes the money, and then they go to church, and the man says, that day I was so preaching, I was so happy, the Holy Ghost was in the house, there was fire in the house, I'm praying, and I see people coming on the altar, they're dropping the seeds, the money, they're putting the money on the floor. Here comes my wife. She's holding the purse now. She's coming to drop the money. So I'm like, stop it. I'm praying, I'm preaching. I'm like, stop it. And the people think I'm speaking to the devil, but I'm trying to stop my wife. I don't know how. And then she gives the money to God. Oh, The meaning says I continued preaching and I was so mad. I was so mad in the house of God. And the woman puts all of the money on the altar as well. The money goes to church, and then after they finish, the guy goes, I had plans for that money. He goes, honey, don't worry, God will make a way. The power of not communicating, the power of trusting somebody else that will make the right decision. Because when I found the money in the house, I should have communicated to my wife that I didn't have any more money, and that money we're gonna use it for this. And I said I did not communicate. I just trusted my wife to do the right thing, and my wife did the right thing by giving the money to church. And it was like I was so mad. So what Kamal is saying, guys, communication is very, very important. And also manage your expectations. Sometimes we might have expectations with the other people. We want them to be this, but if they can't be that, then we get disappointed. And also self-reflection as well. For what everything Kamal has just said, reflect, self-reflection on that relationship. Who are you becoming in that relationship with your spouse? And also, when there is problems in a relationship, first the enemy might be within. And look at yourself first before you can judge your spouse by thinking they are the cause of the problems. For me, when I'm having problems in a relationship, I always look at myself first. If I don't see any problems with myself, this is where I go to God and just pray, and I ask him to turn the situation around. And then I'll communicate with my spouse as well. If there is something that I need to communicate, I'll communicate with him, but without making him feel wrong, or without making myself feel wrong. Because remember, when you're in a relationship, it's two people. It's not easy to manage two people to be on the same page. So it's not easy. So just manage all that communication. Don't be like the man that assumed that the wife would do the right thing with the money. And the wife just went and said, okay, I'm feeling like the Holy Ghost and I've got my husband's money and I'm gonna giving it all. So we are here at Ngozi Talk Shows, guys, Monday to Friday, 1 p.m. UK time. If you're watching us from YouTube, please subscribe to our channel and be part of the family. We have a group on Facebook. If you want to join, we have Unique Billionaire Mindset Group and Ngozi Talk Shows group, so you can join those groups. And also, Kamal, can you tell our audience, please, who you are and where they can find you?
Yes, Nomsa, thank you. So my name is Kamal. I'm a life purpose coach. And what I do is I help you create a guideline, a foundation to a life of purpose and fulfillment through the use of cognitive behavioral psychology, positive psychology, and neurolinguistic programming, all of that bundled up together. And in addition to ancient Egyptian methodologies, who were the pioneers actually on living purposefully. And this led me, of course, through my experiences and my life to create a program of a 14-week interactive program that allows you this sense of foundation so that you can move forward and live purposefully. You can find me on my website. It's kamalamer.com, as my name is. You can find me on Instagram, also kamal.amer, on LinkedIn, the same thing, and on Facebook, the same thing. And wherever you may be, hopefully you enjoyed this and you have learned something. And one last sentence for you to take on board. I want you to remember that successful marriage isn't about perfection. It's about love, understanding, and the willingness to put in the work. It's about choosing your partner every single day. So thanks for tuning in from my end, and until next time.
That is so powerful. Choosing your partner every single day. Okay. Okay. That I have no words to say, guys. That was the close. God bless everyone. Live with grace.